Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Digital Experience Team Iteration Retro meeting. Today is August 12th. We're going to go over some of the things that went well and things to improve on and see if any action items come out of them. First up is Nathan.
Yeah, I just want to comment. I think it was Tuesday. We had that UI to code meeting and it was amazing. If you haven't read through, I think our documentation from that meeting, I suggest you do. Yeah, I love the collaboration. I love like the not back and forth, but different point of views. And I actually learned a lot. It felt like I was back in the office and we were all in a room kind of brainstorming on like a whiteboard. And I want more of that. Anyway, I just want to say thanks to everyone for that meeting.
Plus one.
Oh, plus one.
Plus one.
Yeah, it was good. We all got in a fight. Some people name called, but we came out of it stronger.
Yeah,
that's a joke.
No, but it's so good to have like those conversations though, because they're so healthy. Like I would rather us talk about stuff like that than just be like, there's nothing, everything's perfect, all fine and dandy. So no, I like it. Yeah, let's keep doing more of that.
Yeah, and it shows kind of a low ego, which is nice. But cool. Okay, similar vein, but this iteration really showed me like, oh yeah, we've got like a lot of skill on this team. Like we've got people who have experience in a ton of different tools, from OneTrust to design system to Tailwind to user journeys to like so many things that like whenever someone says, hey, does anyone know about this thing? There's someone on our team that's like, I can help with that. And that's like really cool and kind of rare to find. Like we're really like a talented team. We've got a lot of bases covered, which is cool. So yeah, go team.
That was something that I noticed like coming to GitLab in general and like certainly see it like every day on this team. But like I just think that if you've ever read like the hiring handbook pages and stuff on GitLab, like there's like these really like high bars to clear. And like the strong yes thing in particular that like, GitLab tries really hard to find super strong fits with strong yeses. And I think from like day one for me, or perhaps like more realistically, like month one, I was just like, I feel like every single person I talk to at this company, like is interesting and cool and trying to do like their best work in a way that like I haven't experienced, like coming from like a government contractor background where like no one was trying to do their best work, which is totally just cool too, like that's fine. But like it's just a very different vibe. And I feel like I do like the donut chat. So I get into a coffee chat with a random person from the company every 2 weeks. And every single time it's just like someone who is like, has something really cool going on. And it's like, oh yeah, like just across the whole company. Like it just feels like, anyways, yeah, I just strongly agree. Definitely about our team, but also like, I think like GitLab is a cool place to work for a lot of reasons, but one of them being in particular that like, I think everyone who works here so far that I have spoken with is like really trying their best to be like really good at what they do. And that's really, I think that's unique.
Yeah, that's hard to follow. Big plus one. Agree with everything you said, Tyler. From my perspective, what went well is I know we did have a lot of synchronous meetings over the past 2 weeks, which can be difficult to manage, but also I think that the kickoffs were helpful for Q3 and probably resulted in reducing other meetings later down the road. So I feel confident about our Q3 initiatives and I'm pretty excited about them.
Cool. We can move on to the things to improve. I think Tyler has the first one.
Yeah, and it's related. I only put this in things to improve on because it's the only place, like, I don't know, it's not really, I think it's in the between of these two things. I feel like, and I'm pretty sure if we looked at calendars, this would be true. I feel like there have been more synchronous meetings in probably the past 2 to 4 weeks than usual. And Tina, I agree. Like I have enjoyed pretty much all of them. I don't feel like I've been in useless meetings, so maybe that's perfectly fine. I am aware of like I really like one of the things about working here, like I like the async first, I like the handbook first, like those things are important to me and I think they're important about like doing remote work really well. So like only as a yellow flag of like, hey, like are we missing opportunities to do things asynchronously that really could have been done asynchronously, and perhaps it sometimes feels better. Like, does it feel better to have a meeting, but it's not like aligned with our values? Even like, I don't know. Like I looking back on any of the meetings, I can't think of one that I was like, oh, I wish that didn't happen. Right. But I will say like Laura, like I had a really fun time talking with you and Jameson about OneTrust. I do like think that if you had sent me a couple of questions on it, I am pretty sure we could have handled that asynchronously. But it's not to say that I felt like, oh, I wish I didn't have this meeting. I just like, it's one of those things where it's like it was fun and good use of our time, but was it like part of the values, or like could we have done it asynchronously with like an issue and like talked it through? Because and I don't think we knew at the time because it ended up being easier than we thought it would be. So maybe that's part of it. But anyway, it's just something to flag. And I think you have a sub point under here.
Yeah, I think a lot of it felt like quarter kickoff meetings. I think maybe a thing to improve on, this has been kind of floating around in my head about this particular quarter OKRs is we all seem to be all DRIs on like all of them. Like we're all DRIs on like the design system one, and a lot of us are DRIs on the pricing iteration. So we're all in those meetings instead of like an individual being directly responsible, or like how we've been doing it with like a design and engineering individual being responsible. So maybe there's a way to like clean that up next quarter. I'm hoping that was just like a beginning of quarter kind of scramble of meetings, because I also feel the meetings happening, a lot of meetings.
I have a point on that too. I agree that a lot of meetings could be dealt with asynchronously, and not just for our time, but also for documentation and transparency purposes. Like I can think of a couple meetings, one specifically that Tyler and I had on a project where it's like, well, then we had to like put in the summary of that meeting into issues, and all three of those issues could have just been async issues. So I'm glad you brought it up, because I think we should stay true to that value. Nathan.
Yeah, I don't know the best way to handle this, especially with all the change coming in Q3 about where the homepage is going to be and if it's going to change to the other repository. But there was a lot of homepage updates last week. Like I did the banner 3 times, and I know it's not the hardest change, but it is the most viewed page. So we kind of want to make sure that like the pricing page, a lot of the high traffic pages don't have any issues with them. So I don't know. I just would like an easier way maybe to update the banner or not have to, which is why I brought up the CMS. But I think Tyler, I'll let you speak on your point.
Yeah, Javi, unless you have anything. I see a +1 there.
Oh, sorry, Javi. I jumped over you.
Oh, no, you worries. I think I have a comment, but I think it makes sense to say after Tyler. So
I agree that things like that should be easy to change. The homepage is going to make it to the new repository. That's like one of the top 5 pages we're going to move in there. I think some of this will be alleviated because the build step on that will be faster. So if you're pushing to the new repository, it will go live extremely quickly, or it will be in review apps extremely quickly. I think you'll have a much tighter feedback loop on that in general once we get it over there. And I feel really strongly about that being like resolved in that way. Past experience here sometimes, but also in just other companies I've been in where like I have like built a custom CMS for people because I was like, hey, I'm doing like a dozen content updates a day to change a sentence. Like, here's a CMS. My past experience suggests to me that the people who ask you for copy changes 12 times in 1 week will ask you to make copy changes 12 times in 1 week, because also when they have a CMS and like will not want to use the CMS. So like, I agree. Let's put in the CMS. We like everything should be in the CMS because we should decouple our like information layer, like our data layer should be totally decoupled from the markup. Should be like we should build it right, and CMS is a great place for those things to live. I don't believe like my instinct is that like the people who have asked you to make those changes would not use the CMS to make those changes, and they would ask you, and it might still be easier for you because you would have a CMS to do it yourself, but like I would like put money on a bet that like if you put it in a CMS, the people who are asking you of this will not use it.
Yeah.
So I just
Fair.
like, but again, I think we will solve half of this problem, which is a tighter feedback loop on copy changes that is like easier to deploy and easier to validate.
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. Because even right now, just to get the build going for like one content or one character change is probably an hour at least from end to end.
Yeah, that it'll be much faster.
Javi, yeah, I don't know if you want to comment in on that.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say yes, and if you have like a thing that's like you know, so I think I agree with Tyler mostly that like yes, that like you would still get 12 requests, and you also give yourself like some coverage and fodder for like, hey, like there's this thing that we built that like our team worked on that you can self-serve it yourself. Here's the link for how to make a contribution here. Now the question is, will people do that? I don't know, but it might help, so that, you know, instead of pushing out 12, maybe you're pushing out 6, or maybe, you know, you just take that hard stance of like, hey, like I will not be taking any more requests for the banner. Like here's a CMS, like use the web IDE, like talk to another engineer because I'm like tired of dealing with this. Like I think you can take it like a lot of different ways, because it's like it's that thing where it's like, you know, if you're the only person that knows how to change the homepage banner, and like everyone is only going for you, like that's not like sustainable, you know, because like if one day you leave, it's like, all right, like who updates the banner now? And it's like, well, the question is like you probably should have yourself. But anyway, yeah.
Who banners the bannermen? But sorry. Thanks, Nathan. Yeah, I think that's the core of it. I think that it's like, you know, 50% technical issue, of which we have the tools to solve for, but the other 50% is people issue, and then it comes down to the approach of like, you know, what boundaries do we draw, and like how flexible are we on those? Because like you probably can't draw a hard line in the sand, but you can, you know, draw some boundaries around it, and then just like help people out when that's the only way a banner is going to change is if you do it. It's like, okay, cool, I'll do that. But yeah, I think it's like the people problem solving there.
I think Tina had the next comment.
Yeah, it's just a question about your thing, and maybe I'm just like in the wrong world right now. But you and I, Nathan, have our OKR like project is to redo that whole section anyways. Would it be reasonable to also strap it on to the CMS? I think like the purpose of the personalization issue for that banner hero area is to prevent people from requesting stuff, because it's just going to auto generate content based on data. I mean, there's still going to be obviously requests, but there could be like one area where like this is, you know, YAML file to CMS or however things need to be updated. I don't know.
That just put something in my head, and that if we're putting the new homepage over on the other repository, and we're doing this based on a bunch of information, and we're kind of, you know, tailoring the homepage to the user, do we have all the information in that new repository?
Yeah, it's because it's a client-side script that gives us the data layer.
Oh, it's
We're pulling it from like Marketo, so as long as we pull in the right assets, we'll have it. There's no because we don't have any like databases here, like, you know, moving over is like, as long as the same stuff ends up in the browser at the end of the day, like you're good to go. There's some build step things, but the data that the personalization data is like coming from it's coming from a script tag somewhere. So it'll be, we have to ensure that we include it. You are like, we need to, you know, dot the I's and cross the T's there. But it'll be there without like, there's no extra lift to get the data there. But Tina, to answer your question, well, I actually, I think that is like the right idea if we weren't doing the new repository. The problem is we're going to just have to cross this bridge when we get there, which is that Netlify CMS is like hooked up to the repository as it is to the website. And when we go to the new one, we won't be, it can't like look at two. So like right now, we're just kind of like not worrying about it, but it also means that like since we're moving the homepage to the new one, the Netlify CMS is like not the right place for that to end up right now. It is the right place for it to end up like eventually, but it's probably another step. But the interim solution, like Laura's bringing up next, which one, we have an option on as it is, but two, in the next repository, just be a JSON file to start. that just has that data, and then you can update it in the web IDE. So like close enough to Netlify CMS. So, but for now, let's not. There's a list of 5 pages that we're starting with, and then another longer list of other pages. As those pages get moved over, let's do our best not to put things in the CMS. Oh, I don't know if we're switching to JSON, Nathan. It's the question you put in the
I got
yeah, sorry.
excited.
Well, I don't know. We might, I don't know. Who knows? We'll find out. We'll throw a dart.
Yeah, I brought up kind of an interim step of, instead of trying to force Netlify in this particular situation, is can we get a YAML file? The events team does this right now. They go in, edit the events YAML file. They have a handbook page on exactly what format everything needs to be in, and we can do the exact same thing, so that maybe people can go in and edit their own homepage banner and see like, oh, this homepage banner that's currently up is supposed to be displayed until next week. Like that's when I'll need to change my banner. So like have people kind of manage the banner themselves. I don't know, but yeah, maybe there's a little baby iteration we could do in the meantime. There's some comments coming in, some yeses. Yeah, cool. So we can look into that. Yeah. And then if no other comments on that, I think Tina's got next one.
Yeah, just this, again, for things to improve on. And I did talk with Michael about this on our 101 about how to improve feedback loops from cross-functional partners. They don't always fit into our milestones, into our iterations, which is why there's can be some spillover. And so that's been kind of a holdup, and why there's been projects that could have been done in 4 weeks that are on to 6 and 8 weeks.
I added one last point. I see now with I have like an extension that lets me see how much time is left in meetings, and I see that there's 21 minutes left in the retro sync. I've noticed that we have tended to go like on the shorter end of this. Would it be all right with you all if let's say I'm trying to propose we end this meeting at the hour, like 5 before or whatever? Because I don't think we've gone like the full to 12:20 and like essentially since we started.
Yeah, I think I own the keys. So if we're all in agreement, we can certainly try it out this quarter. And if we find ourselves going over time, move it back. I think but yeah, we've been pretty brief, I feel. Cool. So we've got some action items coming in. I don't know if we want to localize.
Yeah, just a quick. I asked Nathan volunteered to help me out with a part of the new repository next iteration cycle, and I had like really hoped to have like a write-up of like here's what I'm looking for done like today or tomorrow. I have like a doctor's appointment tomorrow and an electrician, so I'm just feeling like I might not send you anything until early Monday morning at the latest. So just wanted to give a heads up, and yeah, like and I see you're commenting there, like if you can just like hold like 2 days of like 4 points, like that would be awesome. I think it's like the answer there, and I will make sure I will do my best to get that to you super quickly. I'm just a little behind.
Yeah, sounds good. And don't stress over it. You're busy tomorrow. You can do it Monday, Tuesday, it doesn't matter.
Cool. I think that wraps us up for today, right on time. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.